My name is Jessica. I'm 27 years old. And this is how I took revenge on the woman who tried to humiliate me. At her wedding, I was sitting alone in a bathroom stall. The cheap overhead lights flickering, mascara smudging beneath my eyes as I tried to breathe through the knot in my throat. Outside, laughter echoed through the bridal boutique, carefree, chirpy, high-pitched. The kind of laughter that doesn't come from joy, but from cruelty disguised as tradition. Moments earlier, I'd been standing near the dressing room mirrors, holding up a white silk blouse I'd planned to wear for Emily's bachelorette brunch. It was simple, classy, nothing dramatic. But before I could even slip it over my shoulders, her voice cut through the room like a blade. "You're not seriously wearing white, are you?" Emily's best friend, who'd appointed herself maid of honor, smirked as she said it. "I mean, white is for the bride. And Jess, let's be honest, you're not exactly pure like Emily, right?" The silence that followed was sharp and deliberate. Every bridesmaid in the room heard it. Some giggled nervously. No one spoke up. I froze, my fingers clenched tighter around the fabric, heat rising in my chest, shame blooming where rage should have lived. But I didn't say a word, because the woman who let that happen, who let it linger, who didn't defend me, who even smiled was my cousin Emily. We weren't just cousins. We grew up like sisters, shared bunk beds during holidays, told each other secrets under the covers. I held her hand at our grandmother's funeral. And now, standing in a room full of fake pearls and flower crowns, she had let a mean girl publicly degrade me for a cheap laugh. I didn't fight back. I didn't throw the shirt or call anyone out. I smiled. I nodded. I folded the blouse and placed it gently back in the bag. I wiped my tears in silence, but I remembered every word, every look, every smirk. And as I sat in that bathroom stall, surrounded by tall and soft cruelty, I made a quiet, firm promise to myself. I wouldn't ruin her wedding, no. I'd do something better. I'd take my revenge where it would hurt the most. Growing up, Emily and I were more than cousins. We were inseparable. After my mom passed away when I was 9, I moved in with my aunt and uncle, and from that moment on, Emily became my world. We shared a bedroom, traded secrets under the covers, and made up silly handshakes we swore we'd never forget. For years, she was my anchor, my closest friend, my chosen sister. But everything shifted in high school. The way things do when the world starts dividing girls into categories they didn't ask to be sorted into. Emily became the perfect one. Cheer captain by sophomore year. Flawless smile thanks to years of orthodontics. Homecoming court twice. And that effortless charm that adults seem to worship. I was the quiet one. The one with panic attacks before group presentations. The one who wore sweaters in 90-degree weather to hide the way I felt about my body. At every family gathering, the comparisons came like clockwork. Emily got straight A's again. "Jessica, you should ask her for study tips." Or, "Emily's dress fits her so well, doesn't it? Maybe she can help you find something flattering, too." They never said I wasn't good enough, but they didn't have to. The way they looked at her, then at me, said it all. In college, I found myself, or at least started to. I majored in graphic design and discovered a quiet pride in creating things that mattered. I freelanced for nonprofits, made album art for local musicians, and slowly built a career I loved. I got therapy. I learned how to breathe through the doubt. I learned that being soft didn't mean being weak. Still, no matter how far I came, Emily treated me the same, like I was the backup dancer in her spotlight. the helper, the sidekick, and to live. My best friend, my safe space. The only person who saw through the performative sweetness of my family and called it what it was. Manipulation dressed up in matching monograms. And then there was Alex, my on-again, off-again boyfriend who never quite understood the tangled history between Emily and me, but always tried to support me in his calm, steady way. He didn't get involved. He didn't push. He just stayed close, which sometimes was enough. When Emily announced her engagement, no one was surprised. She had always been the kind of girl who planned her wedding at 13 and had Pinterest boards before she even had a boyfriend. What did surprise me was how instantly I was pulled into the machine. Invitations, seating charts, color palettes. I wasn't even a bridesmaid. Yet somehow everyone expected me to help. "You're so good with details, Jess," my aunt had gushed. "Maybe you can design the invitations." Oh, and Emily mentioned you might do her website too. No offer of payment, no recognition of time or effort, just the unspoken expectation that I would do what I always did, fade into the background and make things beautiful for someone else. I told myself I could handle it. I'd been handling it for years. But then came the moment at the bridal boutique. The smirk. The insult wrapped in white silk and weaponized nostalgia. That was the crack in the dam. The moment I realized I'd spent most of my life trying to be small so others could shine. And I was done. I joined the bridal party out of obligation. There was never a formal ask. Just a series of assumptions, my name showing up on spreadsheets, in group chats, on the itinerary for the bachelorette weekend like it had been carved there without my consent. I told myself I'd power through it, that I could handle a few passive-aggressive remarks, a handful of eye rolls, and the weight of being the family's invisible workhorse. But Emily didn't make it easy at every turn. She found a way to undercut me. She'd nitpick my suggestions, change plans last minute without telling me, and then blame me when things didn't go perfectly. If I offered design help, she'd smile and say, "Let's just leave it to the professionals this time, okay?" If I showed up early to help decorate, she'd sigh like I was in the way. And every time I bit my tongue, I felt myself shrinking back into that forgotten girl from high school. The one who used to count how many times she was interrupted at dinner, but nothing compared to the dress fitting. We were all standing in a circle of mirrors, swaddled in layers of tulle and silk, as Emily floated around like she was auditioning for a bridal magazine. Her voice was syrupy, fake sweet, full of commands masked as suggestions. She was assigning dresses by skin tone and body shape like she was casting a runway show. I stood near the corner, quietly adjusting the hem of the blush pink gown she'd handed me, trying not to roll my eyes. Then, loud enough for the entire room to hear, she turned and said, "Oh, and Jessica, you'll definitely be in blush, not white. You know, for obvious reasons." The room fell silent. The kind of silence that feels like someone just slapped you without touching you. Everyone knew what she meant. She was referring to the breakup, to the moment 2 years ago when I walked in on my fiancé with someone else, when the entire wedding collapsed in a single afternoon and I fell apart so completely. I thought I might never put myself back together. It was the lowest point of my life, and she knew it, and she used it, in front of everyone, for a laugh. I didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, I looked her straight in the eye and smiled. "Of course," I said. "Blush suits me better anyway." The girls awkwardly giggled. The moment passed, and Emily went back to being the star of the show. But inside me, something shifted. That was my tipping point. The moment I realized she didn't just want to be admired. She wanted me small, powerless, decorative. She wanted me to wear shame like a corsage and thank her for the privilege. And I was done playing that part. If Emily wanted a performance, I'd give her one. But this time, I was writing the script. And it would start with a secret I'd kept for years. One that had the power to flip her perfect little wedding upside down. 3 years ago, during a long weekend visit in college, I saw something I was never supposed to see. Emily and I had met up for brunch, one of those rare, quiet moments when it felt like we were real friends again. She invited me back to her dorm afterward, saying she needed to grab something before her next class. I had a key from a sleepover months prior, so when she texted that she was running late and to let myself in, I didn't hesitate. I wish I had. I opened the door to find her in bed, half-dressed, tangled in sheets, with a guy who definitely wasn't her boyfriend, Ryan. The guy's name was Tyler. I only knew that because he had the audacity to grin and say, "You must be the cousin." Emily's face went pale. I backed out of the room so fast I nearly tripped over her shoes in the hallway. She chased me down, breathless and panicked. "You can't tell anyone, Jess. You don't get it. Ryan's not. He's just for the future, okay? Tyler's just for now. Please, please. I swear it's nothing." She cried, begged, said if I loved her like family, I'd keep it between us. I was so shaken and unsure of everything. I agreed. I told her I wouldn't say a word, and I didn't. But that night, I saved the messages she sent after, the ones where she tried to smooth it over, then threatened me when I didn't reply. I even had a brief clip, just a few seconds, on my phone from the moment I opened the door. I'd hit record by accident while fumbling with my bag, and the image wasn't clear, but the voices were unmistakable. I hadn't saved it for revenge. I'd saved it because some part of me knew that if Emily ever turned on me, I'd need to protect myself. And now, it was time. But I didn't want chaos. I didn't want to scream or ruin her life just for sport. I wanted justice. I wanted clarity. I wanted Emily to feel the precision of being exposed without ever being able to claim it wasn't true. So I dug through my backup drives, opened those old texts, pulled the video off a dusty hard drive. I created a folder labeled plainly, "Wedding Gift." Meanwhile, the wedding planning marched on. Emily acted like nothing had changed. In fact, she got worse. She made me chip in for the bridal shower even though I hadn't agreed to co-host. She left me out of group chats and claimed it was just a tech glitch. At her engagement party, she toasted the bridesmaids and casually joked, "And here's to Jessica, who's been through enough trauma already. So let's hope this wedding doesn't scar her too." Everyone laughed, even her mom. I laughed too, but inside, I was counting down the days. I kept showing up, smiling, nodding, arranging centerpieces, proofreading her honeymoon itinerary. I even helped her build the slideshow for the rehearsal dinner, organizing childhood photos, adding little animations, and pretending I wasn't imagining exactly how and when it would all come crashing down. Still, I wrestled with it, alone. I'd sit up late, staring at that folder on my desktop, wondering if this made me cruel, if I was becoming exactly what Emily always painted me to be: jealous, bitter, pitiful. I confessed some of it to Liv one night over cheap wine and greasy Thai takeout, my voice cracking with guilt I couldn't name. What if I'm no better than her? Liv didn't hesitate. She reached across the table, took my hand, and said, "Jess, no. You're not cruel. You're healing. And she's just finally getting what she deserves. Her words didn't erase the weight, but they steadied me. Because the truth was, I wasn't acting out of hate. I was acting out of memory, out of survival, out of the years I had swallowed shame while someone else built a crown from lies. Emily wanted a perfect wedding. I was going to give her exactly what she asked for, just not in the way she expected. The rehearsal dinner was held at a rustic vineyard just outside the city, string lights twinkling overhead. Rows of mismatched chairs arranged like it was all spontaneous and charming. Though I knew Emily had rehearsed every detail down to the napkin folds. The tables were covered in blush pink linens. The centerpieces were peonies and baby's breath, her favorites. Everything screamed perfection, just like she wanted. When her father clinked a glass and invited people to make toasts, I could feel the eyes on me. I was seated near the end of the bridal table, smiling like always, playing the role I'd been casting since childhood. Emily caught my eye and gave me a little nod. Perform for me, cousin. Say something sweet. So I stood. I held my glass and began with exactly what they expected. A story about our childhood, the matching dresses, the lemonade stands. I even made people laugh with a quip about how Emily once made me promise to design her wedding invitations when we were 12. Her dad chuckled. Her bridesmaids sighed in that polite, perfect way. Then I said, before we move to the slideshow Emily and I made together, I just want to say how happy I am that she found someone who really knows her, who really sees all sides of her. I walked over to the laptop. My hands didn't shake, not even a little. Emily was still smiling, maybe even relieved, as the screen flickered to life. At first, it was everything she expected. Childhood photos, awkward braces, prom nights, spring breaks. Laughter rippled through the crowd. But then the photos shifted. A screenshot of a message. Then another. Emily's text, dated 3 years ago. Asterisk Ryan's just for show. Tyler knows the real me. Asterisk a few gasps. Chairs shifting. The next slide. A photo of Emily and Tyler. Together, shirtless. Her dorm room in the background. The final slide. The grainy video. Just a few seconds. Enough to hear her voice. Unmistakable. Enough to see Tyler's arm around her shoulders. Silence cracked into chaos. Ryan stood up, face white as chalk. He didn't say a word, just looked at her, then at me, then turned and walked out of the vineyard into the dark. Emily lunged for the laptop, screaming, "Turn it off. What the hell is wrong with you?" My aunt stumbled toward me, as if she could somehow claw back the moment, but it was already done. Guests whispered, gasped, hands flying to mouths. I could see phones coming out, people texting under the table. I closed the laptop gently, picked up my wine glass, took a slow sip. Then I turned to Emily, met her shaking stare, and said, clear as glass, you told me I couldn't wear white because I wasn't pure. Turns out, that was never my title to lose. And I walked out. The lights behind me stayed on. The hum of whispered scandal grew louder. The wedding, the dress, the crown of innocence Emily had worn her whole life, all unraveling. And I didn't need to look back to know my performance was complete. In the days that followed, I stayed quiet. I didn't post online. I didn't reply to the flood of texts from extended family or the half-hearted voicemails that came from blocked numbers. I let the noise swirl without me. Emily scrambled to control the fallout, of course. First, she tried spinning it as ancient history, a misunderstanding. Something Jessica twisted out of context. But Ryan wasn't buying it. He called off the wedding 2 days later. The venue was cancelled. The vendors were refunded. The white dress never got worn. I didn't gloat. I didn't text "I told you so." I just disappeared from the narrative, finally free from the role they'd kept me trapped in for years. Instead, I focused on myself. I re-enrolled in therapy, something I'd been meaning to do for months. Liv and I took a spontaneous weekend trip to the coast. Just us, sea breeze, wine, and silence. I redesigned my entire portfolio with a bold new style I'd been too timid to try before. The shift felt like shedding skin. I stopped asking for permission to be visible. Alex reached out, left a voicemail that started with "Hey." I heard what happened and ended with a long pause, like he didn't know what to say. I listened to it once, then deleted it. He didn't belong in this chapter of my life. One afternoon, about a week after everything exploded, my aunt called. She didn't apologize, not really. Just said something like, "We all say things we don't mean when we're young," followed by a clumsy, "Emily's hurting. You know." I listened. I let her speak. Then I told her calmly, "I'm not angry anymore, but I'm also not going back." And I meant it. I didn't just burn a bridge. I walked away from the entire shoreline, and in doing so, I didn't lose family. I found myself. The part of me that didn't shrink under someone else's spotlight. The part that didn't need anyone's approval to shine. Emily humiliated me to make herself feel powerful. But I ended that chapter on my terms. And I reclaimed something far more important than revenge. I reclaimed my dignity. The beach was quiet that morning, just the way I remembered it from when we were kids. Back then, Emily and I would race along the shoreline, daring each other to run into the freezing waves, our laughter echoing across the empty sand. It had been years since I'd been back, years since those memories stopped feeling warm. But standing there now, with the wind tugging at my sleeves and the salt in the air grounding me, it didn't feel heavy anymore, just still. I slipped off my shoes and stepped into the icy surf. The cold hit my feet like a jolt, but I didn't flinch. I stood there, letting the tide wash over my ankles, soft and steady in my head. I heard my own voice, not angry, not bitter, just sure. Forgiveness doesn't always look like a hug. Sometimes it looks like silence, like walking away, like not letting someone rewrite your story. I bent down and picked up a small, spiral shell, chipped on one edge, but still beautiful, still whole. I held it in my palm for a moment, then closed my fingers around it. There was nothing left to prove. I walked back toward the car, the morning sun warming my back, the sound of the waves fading behind me. I may not have worn white, but I left cleaner than she ever did.